Thanks for checking out this episode of the Screen Facts with Jason Davis podcast, where we discuss a movie and share some fun trivia facts during the conversation. Starting next month, we'll be taking a more flexible approach to the podcast. We're going to keep releasing new episodes in the new year. It just won't necessarily be weekly. And by the way, we also will not be releasing a new episode next week in between Christmas and New Year. So enjoy your holidays, have a happy New Year, and thank you so much for all your support. Remember to check every Wednesday for new episodes in the new year. That's when we'll be releasing them. And if you want to get information on how to access all of the past episodes, please visit jasondavisvoice.com/podcast. Please like us on facebook.com/screenfacts. Post your comments or questions. You can also tweet me at jasondavisvoice or email screenfacts@yahoo.com. Well, for the last podcast of 2016, I can think of nobody better to co-host it with me than the person that is my most favorite in the world, my lovely wife, Sue.
Wow. Thanks, honey.
Why do you look so surprised?
That's so sweet.
Well, you know you're my favorite person in the world.
Gosh, you're mine too.
The last couple of weeks in December, we've been talking about some sort of funny and cynical Christmas movies. So we figured we would end the year on a higher note.
Yeah.
By talking about probably the most sentimental Christmas movie ever, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
It is.
And it just celebrated its 70th anniversary, released originally December 20th, 1946.
Wow.
Directed by Frank Capra. Mm-hmm. Story written by Philip Van Doren Stern. And we'll talk about that in a second. Screenplay written by Francis Goodrich, Albert Hackett, Frank Capra, and additional scenes by Joe Swirling.
Now, for anyone who's a theater geek like me, Joe Swirling, that name was so familiar to me and I couldn't think why. And I'm embarrassed that I didn't just remember right off the top of my head. Because anyone who's done Guys and Dolls knows that he was one of the writers involved in that.
Very cool.
Yeah. There was also some people who did some uncredited work on the script.
Okay.
Dorothy Parker.
Okay.
Mark Connolly, Clifford Odets.
Okay.
And Dalton Trumbo.
Ah, the movie was just made about him recently with Bryan Cranston.
Yes, he was one of the blacklisted writers following the McCarthy hearings.
Oh, boy.
And I have an interesting note about some of the communist questions that came up.
Throw it out there. Go for it.
The creation of this movie. In 1947, an FBI analyst submitted, without comment, in addition to a running memo on, quote, communist infiltration of the motion picture industry, recording the opinion of an industry source who said that the film's obvious attempt to discredit bankers, quote, is a common trick used by communists. That's what the FBI was doing in 1947.
It's good to see that they were wasting time then as they are now. Very good. Excellent. Some things never change, I guess.
That's right.
So you actually found a copy of the original story.
I did.
That this movie is based on.
Philip Van Doren Stern wrote a short story called The Greatest Gift.
Right.
He wrote it in 1939.
Okay.
He couldn't get the story published. So he decided to make it into a Christmas card. And he mailed it to 200 of his closest family and friends. And he did that in 1943.
Okay.
So that came to the attention of RKO producer David Hempstead, who showed it to Cary Grant's Hollywood agent.
Oh, wow.
And in April 44, RKO bought the rights to the story. So RKO actually created 3 separate scripts, or parts of scripts, to make a story out of the short story. And they weren't happy with it, and they shelved it, and Cary Grant moved on, and he did Bishop's Wife. RKO said to Frank Capra that you should read it. And he did, and he loved it. So RKO sold the rights to Capra's production company and threw in the 3 scripts just for free. And at that point, they took everything they had. They took the short story, the 3 scripts, all the different collaborations, and they turned it into the script that it became.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you actually read the short story.
I did. It was really cool. I found it online. I still don't even know how, and I managed to... me and my crazy research. It's not long at all. It takes around maybe 5-10 minutes to read, depending on, what kind of pace you want to use. It starts with George at the bridge.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah, because when we were watching it the other night, when he got there, I said, this is where the short story started. And you were like, oh, that's interesting.
And it's interesting that you say that because I was thinking as we were watching the movie. Now, all right, I have to make a confession here. In addition to watching the movie for the podcast, I maybe have seen It's a Wonderful Life from start to finish one other time. And I know that's weird because it's on TV every year, a million times and everything else.
Yeah.
The movie runs 2 hours and 10 minutes. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is a great movie, but that probably wasn't really necessary in order to move the story along and so on. And I think there might have been a couple of things in this movie that if they cut it out, the pacing might have been a little bit better. And I felt like the best part of this movie and what really makes this a classic is that last 20 or 30 minutes of the movie when George is contemplating suicide. There's a lot of exposition in the beginning of the film and toward the middle that may or may not be necessary for the overall message that they're trying to convey, is what I'm trying to say.
Interesting. See, I'm going to disagree with you there, Hanny.
Okay.
I like the fact that they show his life in such detail, significant events and otherwise, because it really shows you what kind of person he is.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying cut it out completely, maybe just shorten the exposition a little bit, you know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like you can have all of the stuff of him as a kid, stopping Mr. Gower from poisoning the people, the story about how he rescued his brother from drowning in the ice, and that's why he's deaf in the ear. I mean, all that stuff is important.
Yeah, it's very important.
How he meets Mary and courts her and everything else. But maybe just the way they did it, maybe they could have just tightened that up a little bit or something. I'm not sure exactly how. I felt like the movie moves a little bit slowly until you get to the part where he wishes that he was never born. And then it's like, wow, this is amazing,
See, I find that very interesting because I get sucked in from the very beginning and I love every minute of it.
Okay.
And I love the fact that they show all the different things. And one thing I really noticed in this viewing was the fact that pretty much all the main characters, George, Mary, Violet, Harry, Sam, Bert, Ernie, and Marty, Mary's brother, they all grew up together.
Okay.
So I noticed that because I had actually, found a source that said, oh, check out this or look at that. And right from the beginning where the boys are sledding, they're all wearing a cap and it has this really ominous looking skull and crossbones on it that I never noticed before.
Yeah, it's
and it
interesting.
said, it's probably they're all in a club.
Okay.
And this is their club hat. And it says, Marty, it's your turn. Now Sam goes down, hee-haw, and then just as I'm realizing that, oh, that's Sam, that's hee-haw.
Right.
He's right through the whole movie. They all grew up together.
Right.
Sam was the only one, I think, who really broke out.
Right, who became this huge success.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge financial success.
Yeah.
They're all successful in their own way, obviously.
Right. I thought it was really cool. I was noticing the scenes of the kids all together.
Right.
To the drugstore. They all come in, all the boys have they're out playing baseball and none of their uniforms match, but they're on some kind of a team, it looks like. And Violet and Mary are right there from the beginning. They both like George.
Yeah, well, they're also setting up that it's a small town where everybody's there's a sense of community and family and everything else. So I get it. And again, I get why this movie is a classic, and it strikes all the right chords for not only a holiday movie, but a movie about knowing what's important in life and the importance of love and family and all that kind of stuff. I get it. All I'm saying is I felt like the pacing of the movie is definitely slower leading up to the last 20 or 30 minutes when he meets Clarence. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. That is true. It is
That's
a
all
little
I'm
slower.
saying.
And I enjoyed that slow pace.
Okay. Fair enough. So we should talk about the stars.
Well, yes.
So
yes.
Everybody knows the movie stars James Stewart. Now, I'm saying James Stewart because I read that he did not like being called Jimmy Stewart.
Interesting.
So James Stewart, Donna Reed, and Lionel Barrymore are the main stars in terms of names.
Right.
Obviously, there's other actors that play important characters in the movie. Lionel Barrymore is Drew Barrymore's great uncle, if you're wondering. He was cast as Potter because he played Scrooge for many years in radio broadcasts of A Christmas Carol. And so they felt like it was really a natural fit for him to become this Scrooge-like character in this movie.
Yeah, that was cool. He also worked with Capra in 1938 on You Can't Take It With You.
Aha. And of course, James Stewart worked with Capra a couple of times. Either before and or after this movie, including Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And another interesting fact about Lionel Barrymore that I read, which I thought was pretty cool, he invented the boom microphone.
That's crazy. I never knew that.
On a movie set, a boom microphone is on a pole, and it's held right above the actors during the performance in a movie to capture the sound on set. It's obviously out of frame unless it's a really low-budget movie. every once in a while, it creeps into some movies.
You might catch a boom there.
You probably could do a Google search for how many movies have a boom visible.
Oh, yeah, that could be fun.
And of course, you don't want that, but yeah, that's a pretty important invention for movie making.
That's
so it's
really
pretty cool.
Yeah, Yeah. Hey, did you know that Vincent Price was also considered for Potter?
Yes, he's one of
Yeah.
a number of actors, but probably the only one that we've heard
Yeah,
of.
yeah. I read through the whole long list of names and went, oh, Vincent Price. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Really cool.
Yeah, so this movie was not a huge box office success.
No, no.
The budget was estimated at $3.1 million, domestic gross of $7.2 million. This is another one of those movies that, for some reason, didn't resonate with audiences in the theaters and even got kind of passed over during Oscar time.
It did.
Because there were some other movies that came out around the same time that just captured everybody's attention more.
Yeah.
And then it's funny how, thanks to television, it's a classic.
It was a clerical error with the copyright company. In 1974, there was a clerical error in renewing the copyright. So all of a sudden it was free range.
Wow.
And the TV stations just snatched it up and started playing it.
Yeah, anybody who had a copy of it,
Yeah.
they said, oh, we can play this as much as we want. We don't have to pay anybody.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah.
imagine that poor clerk is like, oh, what did I do?
Yeah, somebody got their ass handed to them for sure.
Basically. So I mentioned Cary Grant before.
Mm-hmm.
So originally, the original scripts were written with really him in mind.
Okay.
But it wasn't until they actually brought James Stewart in that they really created the part of George Moore for Stewart to play.
Okay.
And Donna Reed actually wasn't the first choice for Mary either.
She's wonderful in the movie.
She's wonderful. It was her first big movie. It was her first big thing. I
Yeah.
thought she was terrific.
Yep.
But the first choice, Ginger Rogers.
Oh, wow.
She was offered it, but she turned it down. She said it was too bland.
Very interesting.
In her autobiography, she questioned her decision and said, foolish, you say? I could see her playing the part too, though, because she was really good at that
Yeah.
sassy, strong female.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hindsight's always 20/20, they
Yeah.
say, right? I mean, when you see the script for this movie, the Mary part is not showy per se.
No, but she's got a lot of spunk.
Yeah.
Right from the beginning when they're in the drugstore
Mm-hmm.
and he's leaning over to scoop the ice cream for her and she says, is this your bad ear? George Bailey, I'll love you till the day I die. It's like, I love this girl.
I know. I know you're all into all of that sentimentality. And I get it. It's cute.
Yeah. The first scene in the movie that makes me cry, because there's quite a few, when I'm jumping ahead and it's a spoiler
That's all right.
alert, but on their wedding night. when
Spoiler
they-
alert. I'm the only schmuck who hasn't seen this movie a million times, probably.
It's their wedding night and they embrace. He kisses her and they embrace, and she says over his shoulder, that night we threw the rock, at the windows of this house. This is what I wished for.
Aw.
Oh, Mary. Love her.
In 2006, the movie was ranked as the #1 most inspirational movie of all time by the American Film Institute. A year later, AFI ranked this as the number 20 greatest movie of all time.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Of all time.
Of all times. Yep.
James Stewart's performance as George Bailey is ranked number 8 on Premiere Magazine's 100 Greatest Performances of All Time.
One of those, I'm not sure. I read that they actually put 500 movies out
Oh,
for
wow.
the survey.
Okay.
And then took 100.
Okay.
And then went from there.
Okay.
So saying number 8 out of 100, yeah, that's really good. 8 out of 500, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to argue. The performances are great.
Yeah.
James
yeah.
Stewart is
Oh,
so
my
engaging. I
God,
mean, he's
yeah.
amazing.
Yep.
No question.
The woman who played his mother, Beulah Bondi, she actually played his mother 5 times, I think, in different movies and TV shows.
Huh.
And I thought they had a really nice chemistry.
Yeah, they were really good.
Yeah. She was in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, too.
Okay. James Stewart almost didn't want to even do this movie, which is very interesting.
Yeah,
Imagine
well, he
that.
was back from the war, and he wasn't doing so good.
Yeah, Lionel Barrymore convinced him to take the role.
Yeah.
He was feeling, I think, maybe a little cynical after the war.
Well, let me tell you something. That article I read at ShopRite today, honey. See, this is me like making lemonade out of lemons, right?
Right,
Because there
yeah.
we are, online. It's the Sunday before Christmas, and it's crowded, and there's lines, and we're getting ready to check out, and we have to wait a minute before we can even unload groceries. And I look and I see a magazine with James Stewart on the cover, and it says James Stewart after World War II and how It's a Wonderful Life saved him. And I'm like, I have to read this while I'm here. They said he was very emotionally fragile after the war.
I'm sure.
Nowadays, we might say he had PTSD.
Yeah.
And he really wasn't sure if he was up for it, which made the dark scenes for George so amazing. When he's in the bar and crying, when he comes home and, he trashes the stuff on the table, he really got to release
It was
the
a form
inner
of
demons
catharsis.
there. Yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah. I mean, listen, World War II probably took its toll on a lot of people. And like you said, back then, PTSD, it didn't have a name.
Yeah.
I'm sure PTSD has existed as long as wars have existed.
Exactly. And plus, back then, they didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, my dad, my uncle fighting in World War II, they never talked about it.
Yeah, because people who are civilians who haven't been trained in combat and how to engage the enemy and all that, they can't relate to what it's like to be in a battle or pull a gun on somebody or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
or
eventually,
or even worse, kill somebody.
Oh, I know.
You know,
eventually, my dad opened up and had some, you know, some of the fun stories he told us.
Right.
Of course, he spared us the details.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's fun stories of camaraderie and things like that, but there's an expression, war is hell, for a reason.
Exactly.
Right?
I have another little interesting tidbit about one of the cast members.
I just want to say this really quick. We were talking about what this movie meant to James Stewart in his career. So he had about a 60-year career in films, 5 Oscar nominations, 1 win. He called this movie his favorite of all the things he ever did in his career. And that's saying something because that's a hell of a career.
Yeah.
Frank Capra, who is a renowned director, also named this movie as his favorite of all of his films. So this is a movie that meant a lot to the people involved in it.
Yeah. The part itself is amazing. He plays him from graduating high school and should be starting college, all the way up to father of 4 losing it. And then plus knowing that he struggled emotionally through it must have been such a challenge every day. And to be able to work through it, that's something that's an amazing
stay with
experience.
You. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what did you have about the other characters in the movie?
Oh, yeah. Sheldon Leonard, who was Nick the bartender. Not quite as big of a deal for him, this movie, apparently. The only reason he agreed to play Nick was so that he would have money to buy Dodgers baseball tickets.
I'm sure in retrospect, he probably looked back and went, hey, that was a pretty good gig for me.
Yeah, not bad.
And wasn't there something cool about the dog that you read, too?
Oh, yeah. The Baileys had a dog. Yeah. I never really paid much attention to it.
You pointed the dog out to me when we were watching the movie. Cause it's real easy to miss the dog because he's kind of in the background and he sort of blends in with the background because the film's in black and the film's black and white.
Yeah. He was a French sheepdog.
Okay.
And his name was Shag.
Okay.
So the first time you see him, he's running with young George and his friends in downtown Bedford. Then you see him right behind Ma Bailey when she calls the boys to dinner, the night of the dance, and he's got the pies and everything.
Right.
And then when the boys pick her up and carry her in and put her on their dad's lap, the dog's barking. And you're like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, there's the dog.
Sure, the dog's excited.
But the dog kept barking.
Right.
Because dogs.
Right. Dogs don't know to shut up when the scene,
actors know, okay, now let's bring it in and continue the scene.
Right.
The dog kept barking, and if you look, you can see James Stewart kind of turn over his left shoulder. It just looks like he slips out of character for a split second, and he goes, shut up. And then you have one last viewing of the dog, George and Mary.
Right.
When they're going off on their honeymoon, the dog's running behind them on the stairs.
Yeah. Aw.
It's so cute.
You gotta love dogs.
Yeah.
So another thing that's cool about this movie is that it invented something kind of revolutionary that's been used in movies ever since.
What's that?
Well, films made prior to this used cornflakes that were painted white to create a falling snow effect.
Oh my gosh. How would you paint cornflakes?
I don't know. Pour paint over them? I'm not sure. But but cornflakes were really loud, obviously, when they're falling on a set. So they had to redo the dialogue every time.
Crunch, 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 crunch.
No, I mean, when they're falling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So dialogue had to be dubbed in later. And they do that still in movies when the boom mic doesn't catch the audio quite as good as it could. They do the ADR sessions afterwards in post-production. But Frank Capra wanted to record the sound live, so they invented a new snow effect using foamite, which is a firefighting chemical, with soap and water. The mixture was pumped at high pressure through a wind machine to create the silent falling snow. 6,000 gallons of the new snow were used in the film. And the RKO Effects Department received a Class 3 Scientific or Technical Award from the Motion Picture Academy for the development of the new film Snow, which is used to this very day.
Super cool.
Very cool. But you know what's cool? We were watching the movie and we were commenting on how real the snow was and how amazing it is.
Yeah. And it wasn't even filmed in the winter.
Yeah. The iconic scene where George is running down the street in Bedford Falls. Merry Christmas, Bedford Falls! And he's like,
Merry Christmas, you old building alone!
Yeah, exactly. That's filmed in the middle of July.
Yeah.
And people were like passing out from the heat. It was so hot. Like 90 degrees or something.
Right.
It's amazing.
Capra actually had to give them all a day off
during
filming just so they could kind of recuperate.
Yeah.
And there
I mean,
they are in their suits and coats and hats and scarves.
It's really believable that it's winter. I mean,
really
you
is.
really can't tell at all.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yep.
It's very cool. The set for Bedford Falls was constructed in 2 months and was one of the longest sets that had ever been made for an American movie. It covered 4 acres of RKO's Encino Ranch and included 75 stores and buildings, a main street, a factory district, and a large residential and slum area. Main Street was 300 yards long, 3 whole city blocks.
That's right. They planted 20 full-grown oak trees
Wow.
on the existing sets.
That's so cool.
And plus, they built a full working bank set.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
and the
attention
house.
to detail.
And, yeah.
It's fantastic.
So cool.
And I think a movie that pays homage to this is definitely Gremlins. We were talking about all the Christmas movies that are not necessarily known as Christmas movies. Die Hard, Lethal Weapon. Gremlins is another one of those. And you were arguing, oh, it's not really a Christmas movie. The whole
I have to
movie...
watch it again.
The whole movie starts with Hoyt Axton, Billy's father, buying him the Mogwai for Christmas.
For Christmas, right. Oh,
And then,
right.
of course, everything happens. But the town is Kingston Falls in that movie.
Right.
And it looks a lot like Bedford Falls. So
Interesting.
I think that was definitely a homage to this movie.
Well, Seneca Falls, New York claims that Frank Capra visited them in 1945, and he modeled Bedford Falls after it.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be the combination of a couple of towns, Seneca
Yeah.
Falls and Bedford, hence Bedford Falls.
Well, I would like to one day go to Seneca Falls in December because they have festivals every year. It's a Wonderful Life Festival.
That's pretty cool.
That would be cool. They have a Hotel Clarence, and in 2010 they opened the It's a Wonderful Life Museum. And Carolyn Grimes, who played Zuzu, cut the ribbon.
Very cool.
So I would like to go up there. I think that would be fun.
So there's a lot of really cool notes about the filming of this movie. Details on the sets. For example, a photograph of James Stewart at the age of 6 months, donated by his parents, is in the Bailey home set, which I think is very cool.
In the drugstore, it's Gower's Drugstore. Did you know where that name came from?
Nope.
Well, Capra's employer, Columbia Pictures, was on Gower Street for many years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they had a lot of true to fact advertisements in the drugstore, too.
Okay.
I didn't get all of them, but I read that there was Coca-Cola,
Okay.
Lucky Strike cigarettes, actually tons of cigarettes, Peterson tobacco pipes, Camel cigarettes, Chesterfield cigarettes, Vaseline hair tonic, Pepto-Bismol, Saturday Evening Post. So cool. The famous ad in the drugstore is the sweet Caparel cigarettes. And it had the sign that says, "Ask Dad, he knows."
Yeah. And that's when he doesn't know what to do
He
about
doesn't know
the
what to
poison.
do about the poison. So what does he do? He sees the sign. He's like, "Oh, ask Dad, he knows."
Yeah, and that scene, by the way, where he gets slapped by Mr. Gower, according to Robert J. Anderson, H.B. Warner really was drunk during the scene in which Mr. Gower slaps young George. Warner's slaps were real and caused real blood to come from Anderson's ear.
Yeah.
After the scene was finished, Warner hugged and comforted Anderson. So they really got into it. I mean, it's pretty amazing how you can be kind of transported in a scene and you just kind of maybe lose yourself a little bit.
Yeah, and that looked painful.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he got him full on with
Yeah.
the hand, and then you can see the blood, and
Yep.
apparently it's real.
Yeah.
And Bobby Anderson, so good.
Yeah.
Young George, just as,
Yeah.
you know.
He's a good match for James Stewart.
He's got that spark
Yep.
that George has. You know, and I looked him up, and he had done a few films before this.
Okay.
Did a few after, but then, you know, as an adult, he worked behind the scenes.
Okay. And a lot of, young actors go on to very successful careers behind the camera. So that's very cool that he was able to do that.
Yeah.
The scene where George prays in the bar, James Stewart has said that he was so overcome that he began to sob right then and there. And Frank Capra thought it was so amazing that he reframed the shot so you could kind of see James Stewart closer in the shot.
Okay,
Kinda
like he's zoomed in more?
Yeah, like he's cropped in, sort of.
Oh, cropped. Yeah.
Because he wanted to really catch the expression on
Yeah.
James Stewart's face. That's why if you watch the movie, that kind of appears a little bit grainier than some of the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat.
And that's when I started really looking at James Stewart going, the range
Yeah.
that he had. And then when he's home and the kids, are getting ready for Christmas and he sits on the chair and a couple of them are climbing on his lap. And just his face, and he's got the huge under eye circles and he looks just older than his years.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it thinking, this is the same guy who looked so adorable in that varsity uniform going, "Buffalo Gals, won't you come
Yeah.
out tonight?" I mean, he looks 20 years older.
Well, you got to
You
think.
know?
People who are stressed out nowadays have different ways that they can relieve that stress and maybe not feel it quite as much. But back then, the depression. He's in a job that he doesn't want to do.
Yeah, he's
He
never
had
left
dreams.
town. All he wanted to do was leave town.
Yeah, he had all these dreams of building things and becoming
Yeah.
this big success, and he's passed up opportunities and this and that. He's got this big family, and that's all weighing on him. And,
Yeah.
and they did a great job of showing that,
Yeah.
probably with some makeup, but also his performance.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. So there's a really cool accident that happens on the set that they kept in with Uncle Billy.
Oh, that's right. I love the scene where he's leaving the celebration and he's drunk. And it sounds as if he stumbles into some trash cans on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But in reality, a crew member dropped a large tray of props right after actor Thomas Mitchell went off screen. Mitchell quickly improvised, I'm all right, I'm okay. And director Frank Capra decided to use this take in the final cut, and he gave the crew member a $10 bonus for improving the sound.
P.S. $10 in 1947 or 1946. That's probably not bad.
Decent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a Christmas bonus, right?
Yeah. So we were talking about Donna Reed earlier and how she wasn't the original choice to play Mary, but she really brought some skills to the role that they probably didn't even anticipate.
That's true. For the scene that required her to throw a rock into the window of the Granville house, Frank Capra hired a marksman to shoot it out for her on cue. But Donna Reed surprised everyone when she broke the window without the assistance of the hired marksman.
That's pretty cool.
Well, she had played baseball in high school and she had a strong throwing arm.
Ah,
Yeah, she came from a small town. She was from Denison, Iowa. And she also demonstrated some skills there by winning an impromptu bet with Lionel Barrymore when he challenged her to milk a cow on set. I chuckled because I think about actors' resumes. It has their name in the middle and the top, then has height, weight, hair color, this, that, lists of parts, training. And at the bottom is special skills.
Right.
And imagine what she could put.
right. Yeah, I can
Can
throw
milk a cow
baseball better
on-
than most guys.
Yeah, milk a cow and throw a baseball.
Yeah, and back then they probably said, "Oh, she throws like a girl."
Oh, don't get me
yeah,
started.
I know.
Yeah, that means she does it just as well, but gets 77 cents on the dollar for it.
There you go with that again. So George, I mentioned, of course, George had all these hopes and dreams. He wanted to learn how to build things and all that.
Yeah.
Turns out James Stewart in real life majored in architecture at Princeton University.
Jersey. in the
Which
house.
which is interesting for our good friend Eric Reitz, who's a regular contributor to the show, because not only does he live down near Princeton, but he's an architect.
That's true. Yeah. Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, very cool. 42 rings are heard over the course of the film. So, of course, if Clarence got it right, 42 angels receive their wings. Clarence's voice is heard in the opening scenes, but he doesn't appear until the last 30 minutes of the film, which we mentioned earlier.
Right.
And he's on screen for only 15 minutes.
That's funny.
And it's funny because that happens more often than you realize in these classic movies.
Yeah.
These iconic characters that are so important to the story. Another one that comes to mind has nothing to do with this movie, but Star Wars. The
Darth
original Star
Vader,
Wars. Darth
exactly.
Vader, I think, is only in the original Star Wars. We talked about it on the
Yeah,
podcast
yeah.
for, like, what is it, 7 or 15 minutes?
Something like that,
In the
yeah.
entire movie.
Yeah.
But they're so impactful that it feels like they're in much more of the film.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The kiss scene.
The kiss scene. Yes.
Famous.
The famous.
You can see the yearning and the longing in his face. Oh my gosh, what
Now,
I want
you're talking about the scene where he's on the phone. They're on the phone with, with
the first kiss.
Sam, right?
Yeah. And Capra really strove to make scenes as real as he could for the actors. So they set up Stewart and Reed with the phone on their part of the set, and they had the actor who played Sam on a different set.
Okay.
So they could actually have the conversation.
So they were really talking to him on a phone then?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
I'm sure it was dubbed in and this and that. But James Stewart was very nervous about the phone scene kiss because it was his first screen kiss since his return to Hollywood after the war.
Wow.
Stewart filmed the scene in only one unrehearsed take.
Wow.
And it worked so well. Part of the embrace was actually cut because it was too passionate for the censors.
It was too racy for 1946.
Yes.
That's
yes.
something.
Well, maybe it's just me because I'm a female and I'm looking at James Stewart in that scene going, but the way, first of all, his nose is near her hair. And that's a classic thing when the man smells the woman's hair and you start to see like a little tingling in the man there. He's like yearning a little for a little more smell, a little closer. And then, she's listening and he's just right there. And like, I watch that scene every time going, kiss her, just do it, kiss her.
Wait a minute. I need a minute. Hang on. Okay.
And then when they finally, and the kiss itself isn't even that long. It's a kiss, and
well,
then
it's cut, you said, right?
And then they embrace.
Oh, okay.
And the embrace, and
Yeah. It's powerful stuff.
It is. And I could see why the censors, especially if they were female, might have been going, I don't know about that.
A much different time.
Yeah.
You think about it now, and it's almost comical in a way how conservative people thought back then.
Yeah. But I think there's something about the yearning and the wanting to get there.
Yeah.
In that scene, the build up.
Yeah, because he almost kisses her when they're singing the Buffalo Gals song.
Yeah, and she twirls away.
Yeah.
I also would like to say that as someone who loves butterflies, when I read about the framed butterfly collection on set, I said, what? I've got to look for that. And
But it's kind of sad, though, because they're all dead butterflies.
I know, but that's what they did back then. And that's how you preserve the glory of the...
That's true.
The butterfly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess all
they
butterflies
only
are going to
live for
die.
Like a couple weeks.
That's true, and it's not like they killed them to put them in a frame. Either.
Yeah.
We'll assume.
We're gonna go with.
We're gonna
the fact
go with that.
No butterflies were harmed in the making of this movie.
Yeah, for the making of this movie.
But you see them in Ma and Pa Bailey's dining room because I went, oh, look at the butterflies, look at the butterflies.
Yeah.
And then later on, you see them in George and Mary's living room. So George must have inherited them.
Yes.
Very nice touch. Very nice touch.
A lot of attention to detail.
Yeah, yep. We talked about the fact that Potter offers George a job.
Yes.
And it's $20,000 annual salary.
Right. Did you happen to look up what that would be today?
I found out that in 2010,
Okay.
which, that's 7 years ago already,
Yeah,
it
almost.
would have been $310,567 a year.
Wow.
And that's 7 years ago. So I don't know if it would be up a little bit more from then, maybe.
Probably. So the
that's what he
$20,000 that he's
turns down.
You know?
Well,
you kind of understand why.
Yeah. And I love that scene because he's on board somewhat. He's sitting there in that little chair. And
That's
he's
a total power play, too, by Potter.
And he's got, the cigar, and he's thinking about, let me talk to my wife. And it's not until he shakes Potter's hand.
Yeah, and he sees the liver spots on his hand.
Yeah, and the look of disgust on Stewart's face.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and then he wipes his hand on his jacket. He's like, no, I don't know. I can answer you right now. Or,
Yeah, like he's shaking hands with the devil himself,
yeah,
right?
and it's like he's wiping slime off of his hand.
Yeah.
But $20,000 back then, right?
Yeah, that was a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
So what else you got?
I love the theme of the movie. And of course, the part that gets me full out sobbing, probably for like 5 minutes until I can calm myself down again, is Harry Bailey making the toast at the end.
Yeah.
Because you realize Harry's a big war hero, but he wouldn't have been there to save that transport if George hadn't saved him when they were kids.
Right. Let me just stop you for 1 second. If you're not crying, choked up, feeling some sort of emotion at the end of this movie, check your pulse.
Absolutely.
Honestly.
Absolutely.
You're
I'm
a
as cynical
heartless
as they
person.
come, but
Yeah,
you know what?
come on.
The brother comes home. He raises a glass and he says, to my brother George, the richest man in town.
Yeah, and it's just the idea. It's all about how great humanity can be when we allow it to be.
Yep.
And if
Even
that doesn't get you, come on.
Even a guy like Sam Wainwright.
Yep.
He's in Europe at this point.
Right.
And all the money that they've collected in the hamper seems like this is close. If that's not 8,000, who knows?
Oh, I'm sure it's probably more than enough.
But then
they
Sam
need.
wires in.
$25,000. Which, going back to what we just said,
Exactly.
is like $300 some odd thousand.
And it doesn't even faze him. And that happened because Mary told a few people. She specifically went to Mr. Gower, who wired Sam. And it's just all these people that have been affected by him. And Sam, their whole lives, has actually been teasing George.
Yep.
Old mossback George.
Yeah. Well, because he tried to offer him, getting in on plastics.
Yeah. And
which is
George
where he
is
makes
like,
his
I don't want
fortune.
any plastics,
Right.
know. And then when the Martinis are setting up their house, when they're moving in and Sam pulls in and he's even going, oh, look, there's George always making a speech. Like he's always got a little dig. And I can't help but think that even though Sam is very material success, that he's kind of a little jealous of George.
All of the years that he put in at the building and loan made it possible for people to have homes and not be living in a slum that was owned by Potter.
Exactly.
And that alone, you can't even put a price on that.
Yeah. George finds the book at the end, the Tom Sawyer, and Clarence has written in there, no man is a failure who has friends.
Right.
And I noticed on the set of the Bailey Building and Loan, there was a picture of his dad. And then under it was like a framed, I don't know if it was like a cross stitch or something maybe, embroidery. And it said, All that you can take with you is that which you've given away.
Yep.
I just think that sums up the movie so well.
Yeah. There's so many ways that you can help people, and it doesn't have to be money either, by the way.
Right.
Just be nice to people. It's amazing how just being nice can really make a difference in somebody's day. And I'm not trying to be a preacher here. Treat people like they're as important as you think you are, and the world will be a better place. Period. The end. Well, honey, thank you as always for being a part of the podcast. I love doing this with you. And thanks to you for listening. Again, no podcast next week. And then in 2017, just keep checking every Wednesday. I don't know how often we're going to be doing these things. I don't want to put any kind of time limit or any kind of specific thing on it at all. I just want it to be when we can do it, when we can get the schedules to jive and get people in here to record with me, we'll make it happen. But we really appreciate you listening, and I hope that the fact that it's not going to be weekly won't deter you from still listening. Remember, we always like to hear from you. If you have comments or questions, favorite scenes you want to mention, we're on Facebook at facebook.com/screenfacts. You can also email us, screenfacts@yahoo.com. You can find me on Twitter at Jason Davis Voice. Please rate and subscribe on iTunes. And if you want to show your support for the show in other ways, you can order ScreenFacts merchandise on the podcast page of jasondavisvoice.com. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Thanks for listening. Show theme music by Audionautics.com, and special thanks to our announcer, Kim McKay from kimsvoice.com.
Screen Facts with Jason Davis is a production of Jason Davis VoiceOver. Visit jasondavisvoice.com if you need a voice for a commercial, narration, promo, internet video, e-learning or training program, and more. Click on the podcast page to get information about where you can download and listen to past episodes. Listen again next Wednesday for a new episode of Screen Facts with Jason Davis.